Hey family, before we dive into today's video, I'd really appreciate your support. Subscribing is one of the best ways to help us out. It's quick, free, and keeps the awesome content coming. Every listen, like, and share truly means a lot. Let's keep this channel growing. Thank you so much. I came home early and overheard my girlfriend bragging about cheating on me with our coworker, so I left without a word and started my revenge plan. Hey everyone, before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now, let's start the video. Alright, so I never thought I'd be the guy posting on Reddit about this stuff. Usually I read these while pretending to work, thinking, damn, that's rough. But now I'm the one who's got this whole mess stuck in his head. So yeah, I, 35 male, was engaged to Valerie, 31. Female for a little over a year, but we'd been together for almost 4. We both worked at this architecture and design firm, big office. Lots of teams, the kind of place where the break room coffee is always bad, but somehow people still drink it. Valerie was on the interiors team. She'd always been artsy, super into spaces and colors, and making things look like Pinterest exploded in a good way. I was on the structural side, more math, more deadlines, more making sure the things she designed didn't collapse in real life. It was actually kind of cool working together. People joked that we were like the dream duo of the office. What they didn't know was that dreams can rot too anyway. This all went down last Friday. We were both supposed to be in the office, working on a client presentation that was coming up, big deal. Actually quarterly pitch to a new development client. Whole team was hyped, but on Thursday night, Valerie says she's thinking of taking Friday off. I asked if she was feeling okay. She said she was just drained, like work burnout, mental fatigue. Too many late nights. I mean, who isn't tired, right? But I didn't question it, told her, sure, take the day, get some rest. We'll catch up on the project over the weekend. She kissed my cheek and thanked me for being understanding. Yeah, cool, great. So Friday morning, I head in. She stays home normal so far, then around Les years alto, I realize Declan's not there either. He's our junior site consultant, younger dude, kind of overconfident, but in that harmless way, you know, always cracking dumb jokes and acting like he's everyone's best friend. He and Valerie worked together sometimes when interiors overlapped with site planning. I even remember Valerie recommending him for a team spot last year. Anyway, it crosses my mind that they're both gone the same day, but I didn't really linger on it. I was focused on getting this design deck ready. I figured maybe Declan had some site visit or a dental appointment or whatever. People skip work all the time. Around noon, I start feeling weird, like not full-on sick, but off headache, creeping in stomach, feeling like it's slowly twisting. I thought maybe it was just burnout or the fact that I hadn't had anything to eat except a banana and sad coffee. I tell my manager I'm not feeling great and I'm heading out early, grab my stuff, hit the elevator, and bounce. I even texted Valerie something casual like, hey, heading home, feeling a bit off. Didn't get a response again, didn't think much of it maybe. She was napping. I get home, and the second I walk in, I notice the door isn't locked. Weird. We always lock it, even when we're home. I figured she just forgot. Then I hear noise, not music. Or a show voices her and laughing. I'm standing there frozen in the entryway, and my brain's not computing fast enough, like a Wi-Fi video buffering. I walk in slow, quiet, and there they are. Valerie and Declan on the couch, her sitting on his lap kissing him like they've been doing it for a while, and I just stood there. I didn't say anything, didn't drop my bag, didn't yell or slam anything. I just turned around and walked out like I was some stranger who walked into the wrong apartment. My hands were shaking, but my face stoned. It was like my emotions just shut off. I got in the car and drove. I didn't even know where I was going. My brain just kept saying, not here, not now, not this. I ended up at my parents' house. Yeah, I know it sounds lame for a 35-year-old, but honestly, it was the only place I could go where I didn't have to explain myself. My dad just nodded when I showed up, opened the fridge, handed me a bottle of water, and sat next to me on the porch while I stared at the tree for 2 hours. Valerie texted like 5 minutes after I left. I didn't read it. My phone just buzzed again and again until I blocked her. Then came the calls from random numbers, probably her trying. From a friend's phone or something. I turned it all off. I didn't need to hear anything. What was she going to say? That it was a misunderstanding, that she tripped and landed mouth first on Declan that they were rehearsing for a kissing contest. No, I didn't want excuses. I wanted distance. I didn't cry. I didn't yell. I just laid on the couch with a blanket that smelled like their old dog and stared at the ceiling. Like it owed me an explanation. And honestly, I think that was the moment I stopped. Seeing Valerie as my fiancée and started seeing her as someone I used to know. She wasn't tired. She wasn't burned out. She was busy. Just not with work. I didn't sleep much that night, not tossing and turning or pacing, just stuck like my brain had. Flipped the switch to silent mode and forgot how to reboot my dad. Didn't say a word, and not to talk it out kind of people. He just sat across from me at the kitchen table that morning reading the paper like it was any other Saturday. My mom kept hovering. She made eggs and toast and slid a cup of coffee in front of me like it could fix Betrayal. I didn't eat any of it, just sat there staring at the cup like it was supposed to get me. Answers around 9:30. I pushed my chair back and stood. Up, I've got to go clean house. I said that's all I gave them. They didn't ask anything. My mom just said be careful. And handed me a to-go cup like I was heading to war. The drive back wasn't long, but every red light made my chest feel tighter, like I was bracing for impact. Even though the crash had already happened, I wasn't going back to fight. I wasn't going back to talk. I was going back to end it properly when I pulled into our usual spot in front of the building. I sat in the car for a second, not to mentally prepare. There was nothing left to prepare for, just to give myself a second to realize this. Was it the version of my life where Valerie and I were planning our wedding? It was already over. I got upstairs. The key still worked, obviously. I opened the door. She was on the couch, hoodie, messy bun, red-rimmed eyes, her favorite fuzzy socks. She looked like she hadn't slept either, which good. At least one thing we matched on. She jumped up. The second she saw me, Ezra, please, can we just talk? Nope, I said, cutting her off immediately. You've got 1 hour to pack your stuff. I'll be back. After lunch, don't be here. The silence after that was heavy, like even the air needed a second to process it. She looked stunned, like she genuinely didn't expect me to be that direct. I don't even know what to say, she stammered. Good, I replied. Means don't have to hear anything. She blinked like I slapped her. You're not even going to give me 5 minutes. You had plenty of time to say something before. You sat on our couch making out with a guy from work, not really interested. Now she stepped toward me, and I took a step. Back, raising my hand. Don't come near me, seriously, Valerie. Froze, her bottom lip quivered, and she said, I didn't mean for any of this to happen still, did I? Said intentions don't cancel actions. Then she started explaining something about how we drifted apart, how she felt neglected. That word hit me sideways, neglected. I worked full-time. I was pulling long hours because we were literally saving up for the wedding she claimed she wanted. I'd take her on weekend trips, brought her coffee every morning. Always asked about her projects. I wasn't perfect, but neglected that part almost made me laugh, not because it was funny, because it was pathetic. Then she dropped the Declan line. Jussie listened to me. He understood me. Oh, so you cheated because he nodded while you vented? Wow, I better start buying hearing aids for all my coworkers, she snapped. Don't be like this. You're acting like a guy who walked in on his fiancée making out with someone who works for desks over. Yeah, that tracks. There was a long pause after that. She tried to cry again, like the tears would do something this time. I didn't flinch. I just stared back like I was looking at drywall. I'd already seen the real her. Whatever guilt she was trying to push onto me didn't land. I made a mistake, she whispered. Cool. Now pack it. She still didn't move. Where am I supposed to go? Not my problem. She looked shocked, I guess. After 4 years together, she thought I'd offer to help or give her time or make it easier somehow. Nope, not anymore. I grabbed my car keys and said, 1 hour. Don't make me say it again. I walked out and didn't look back, drove to this tiny diner a few blocks down and sat in a booth alone, ordered eggs and toast and didn't touch them. Just watched the clock on my phone while flipping through old pictures I wasn't ready to delete. Yet, when I came back, she was gone. Place was eerily spotless. She even took the scented candles and the ugly lamp her aunt gave her. Honestly good, less stuff for me to donate. I grabbed a trash bag and started clearing whatever she left behind random. Jewelry stray, socks half empty, shampoo, bottles, everything that reminded me of her went into that bag and straight to the hallway. Then I remembered. The hallway cam, we'd installed it after someone stole a package off our doorstep last year. Valerie knew about it. She must have forgotten it was still on. I grabbed my laptop and pulled the footage. There it was, Declan walking in, her opening the door, their hands all over each other like they weren't standing 6 feet from a shelf. Full of shared books and photo frames, I copied the footage to a flash drive and labeled it insurance. No idea what I'd do with it yet, but I wasn't going to be. The guy who got lied to, cheated on, and quietly disappeared. Not again that night. I showered, ate half a bagel, crashed on the bed without saying a word to anyone. The apartment felt bigger, not better, just emptier, and then Monday showed up, and so, did they? Monday mornings are already cursed? Add a cheating ex and a spineless coworker to the mix, and it becomes a joke with no punchline. I got to the office around 8:50, parked like normal, walked in like normal, swiped my badge like always. My whole goal was to move like nothing was wrong, even though everything was different now. I took the elevator up with a few other people from our floor. Nobody talked, just phones and awkward silence. I think that's the only peace I got all day. I stepped out, made my way to my desk, dropped my bag, powered on my laptop, checked emails, got a notification about the pitch deck needing one last pass before Thursday's quarterly presentation. Cool, I was already planning to handle it solo anyway, and then I heard their voices. Declan's fake happy laugh, followed by Valerie's lower than usual. Good morning, you know when someone's voice drops. Just a bit, because they know they're being watched. That kind of voice, she used to greet people with energy. Now she sounded like a person who knew their whole world was made of glass. I didn't even look at them. Declan hesitated at the entry to the open office space. I caught it out of the corner of my eye, him sort of scanning for me, then pretending to be super focused on his phone like he suddenly discovered text messaging Valerie. Followed a few steps behind, quieter than a mouse with a guilty conscience. They went straight to their desks. No hey. Ezra, no fake small talk, just silence. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't enjoying it a little. I had no interest in drama. I just wanted them to know. I wasn't flinching. The thing is, people notice things. Even if you don't say anything. The mood on the floor was tense, and our coworkers weren't dumb. They saw Declan and Valerie avoiding me like I was contagious. Saw how I didn't even glance their way around. 10:30, I headed to the break room. Needed coffee, mostly out of habit. My head was pounding, probably from the lack of real food all weekend, and the emotional whiplash of being blindsided by betrayal and having to act like I'm fine in front of everyone. I'm standing there waiting for the coffee machine to finish its slow drip when I hear the door creak open. Of course, Valerie walks in. She stops like she wasn't expecting me there, even though this break room is literally the size of a closet, and coffee is the one thing half our office survives on. I don't turn around. She stands there for a second, then takes one cautious step. And like she's about to approach a stray dog, "Can we talk?" she says, quiet. I don't say anything. I stare at the mug, as if I'm reading the future in the swirls. I want to explain things. Last week wasn't. I finally turn around. Wasn't what you weren't sitting on my couch, making out with someone who files site reports with me every Tuesday. She winces. It wasn't planned. It was a mistake. I actually smiled. That's wild. Most people who make mistakes trip or forget their password. You scheduled yours. With PTO, she tried again. It wasn't like that. It just got messy. I was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed too. Didn't cheat. Her voice cracked a little. I didn't mean to hurt you. I tilted my head. You mean you didn't expect to get caught? That shut her up. For a full 5 seconds, she opened her mouth again, and I raised a hand. Stop. Don't talk to me at work. Don't message me. Don't follow me to the break room. We're coworkers now. That's it. She looked like she wanted to cry again, but I was so beyond it. Please don't do this here, she whispered. You're the one who walked in, not me. I grabbed my mug, walked right past her, and didn't look back. I went straight to my desk, opened my inbox, and finished assembling the HR packet I'd been working on since Sunday night. Screenshots, timestamps, that hallway cam footage I'd pulled from the apartment. I even included the original PTO request that showed they both took the same day off, nice and tidy. I wrote the email draft, but didn't send it, not yet, because the quarterly pitch, it was on Thursday, and guess who was still listed as part of the team to present? That's right, Declan and Valerie. And while I didn't care about the drama, I did care about timing. I wasn't going to just quietly hand it to HR and watch them disappear in the middle of some random Tuesday. I wanted this to land when it mattered. Thursday morning, right before the presentation. All eyes would be on the team. Execs would be there. Clients, stakeholders. It was our firm's biggest internal meeting of the quarter, and the last thing the company would want is 2 people walking on stage, while sitting on a personal HR landmine. So yeah, I scheduled the email Wednesday for 45 p.m. right before end of day, just enough time to get their attention, but not enough time for Valerie or Declan to spin up any defenses that entire Monday. I acted normal. I submitted updates, gave feedback on the draft presentation slides, even complimented someone on their tile rendering for a new client model. I was in full model employee mode. Meanwhile, Valerie and Declan sat on the far side of the office, whispering and avoiding eye contact like they were afraid of a jump scare. I kept it all quiet. No outbursts, no rumors. I wasn't going to be that guy who dragged dirty laundry through the office. I wanted them to be totally unprepared, because while they were sitting there sweating through spreadsheets, I had the power and I wasn't rushing. A Wednesday felt weird, not in a bad way, more like this silent countdown was ticking in my head and no one else could hear it. I walked into the office around the same time as usual, 8:55, coffee in hand, neutral face, on just another day in design paradise. Valerie and Declan were already there, hunched over some mock-up like they were curing cancer. Valerie had her reading glasses on. Declan was chewing gum way too loud. They didn't look relaxed, though. It was more like two people trying really hard to act normal while knowing the floor might cave in any second. I sat down, plugged in, and pretended to go about my day, answered a few emails, reviewed a site plan, spoke to my manager briefly about some wall spec issue, basic stuff, nothing. That said, by the way, I'm about to destroy two people's careers after lunch. At 4:45 on the dot, I hit send. I didn't reread the email, I didn't hover over it or question the timing. It had everything. HR would need footage logs, scheduling overlaps, and my note at the bottom that basically said, "This isn't about personnel revenge, this is about ethical behavior inside a workplace." These two knowingly violated professional boundaries during office hours and tried to keep working in the same space like nothing happened. I'm not asking for blood, just accountability. That was it. No over-explaining, no emotional baggage, just the facts. I logged out and went home like nothing happened the next morning. The building buzzed like it always did on big presentation days. Everyone was dressed a little sharper, less denim, more button-ups. People were running through slides, making last-minute changes, checking the video connection for the conference room. You'd think we were pitching to NASA. I showed up right before our pre-meeting sync. The pitch wasn't till 10 o'clock m. But the prep room was already filling up. Valerie walked in a minute after me, wearing her power outfit, black pants, white blouse, low heels. She looked like someone trying to look in control. Her hands were shaking slightly when she picked up her water bottle. Declan came in behind her, with a portfolio tucked under his arm like he was auditioning for a leadership role. He kept glancing at me from across the room. I ignored him. Around 9:31, and the HR manager's Marn walked into the prep room. Now Marn's one of those HR group people who's always smiling, but the kind of smile that tells you she could fire you with a compliment. She scans the room, smiles at a few people, then walks directly over to Valerie and Declan. She taps them both lightly on the elbow and says, "Hey, can you come with me for a minute?" They follow, no questions, no scene, just two people walking toward their professional expiration date. The room went quiet for a second. Not suspicious quiet, just that weird pause when something's off and everyone feels it, but no one wants to say it first. People started exchanging looks, but not obvious ones. Just that low-key eye contact across the table, like "Did you see that?" followed by immediate pretending to focus on their notes again. You could almost hear people blinking. I stayed seated, adjusting slide notes and sipping my coffee like I hadn't just watched two people get yanked out of the room, like students being sent to the principal's office. I clicked through slides that didn't need clicking just to look busy. Someone leaned over and whispered, "Where'd they go?" I shrugged, no clue. One of the interns mouthed, "What the hell?" Across the table to someone near the door, another guy from the render team raised an eyebrow so high it almost hit his headset. Everyone was too polite to say anything loud, but the collective confusion had weight. It was like you could feel the curiosity bouncing off the glass walls. 10 minutes later, my boss walks in, half a pastry in hand, looking around like he forgot his wallet. "Wait, where's Valerie and Declan?" he asked, still chewing. Someone near the front said HR pulled them. He blinked. Now a pause, a deep one, then more eye contact across the room. One woman literally stopped mid-email and just stared straight ahead like she was processing an error message. I said nothing, just tapped my pen. against the desk like I was thinking real hard about color palettes or window sizes or whatever. Safe topic didn't involve the two people currently getting professionally vaporized behind closed doors. No one asked me directly, but I could feel them trying not to look at me. I wasn't mad about it. Let them wonder, let them all wonder. A few minutes after that, he walks up to me. Directly, you ready to go solo on this? I nodded. Been ready, and I meant it. We head to the presentation room. It's this big glass in space with a projector long table and at least 3 people who get paid way more than me based on how many zeros are on their suits, execs from corporate, lead partners. A few people from marketing, big audience. I walk up to the front, connect my laptop, breathe, and then I walk them through the core of the project. I lay out our design concepts, explain the client goals, go over budget, balancing, highlight our structural innovations, and present the renderings we spent weeks building. The thing is, I didn't just wing it. I had been the one doing 90% of the work anyway. Valerie and Declan, they liked meetings and buzzwords. I was the guy actually making sure the floor plans made sense and the walls didn't collapse. I finished with a few client-focused takeaways and some light Q&A. The execs nod. They ask questions, I answer. Nobody asks where Valerie is. Nobody asks why. Declan's login is deactivated before lunchtime. By the time I'm back at my desk, words are ready. Spreading. Some people are whispering. A few are slacking each other under the table. You can tell who's figured it out by who suddenly stops talking when I walk by at 1 p.m. May get an email from HR, just 2 lines. Thank you for your report. We've concluded our internal review. Appropriate action has been taken. Let us know if you experience any retaliation or unprofessional behavior. Going forward, no signature, just clinical closure. I leaned back in my chair and stared at that email for a solid minute. Not because I felt amazing, not because I felt nothing, but because it was finally done. Declan and Valerie didn't return that day or the next. Their desks were cleaned out by Friday. Nobody from management explained why they just disappeared like a bad extension project. No announcements, no goodbyes. Just gone. By the end of the week, I got 2 separate thank yous. One from a junior designer who said she always got weird vibes from Declan and never knew how to say it. Another from someone on Valerie's old team who told me straight up, "You did the right thing, man. That crap should never fly in here." I nodded and said thanks. Like I didn't spend the last month living in a Truman Show of lies. The weirdest part, I felt calm, not triumphant, not victorious, just calm, like someone turned off the static that had been playing in the back of my head for months. I went home that night and sat on the couch alone, peacefully turned off my phone, ordered a pizza, watched something dumb on YouTube, and didn't think about Valerie once. Well, maybe once, but it didn't hurt anymore. It took about 3 days after the HR incident for Valerie's family to come crawling out of the woodwork. I should have expected it, honestly. The silence after her exit had been a little too quiet. Thursday afternoon, I got home from work and noticed an unfamiliar car parked out front. Thought it was just a neighbor's guest or something. Nope. I unlocked the door to my apartment, and there she was, her sister, Megan, sitting on the steps of the building like she was waiting for an Uber that forgot her. She stood up the second she saw me. "Ezra, can we talk?" I didn't stop walking, just said no and opened the door. She followed anyway. "I know you're mad, but please, she's a mess. She's been crying every day." I laughed, like actually laughed. She should cry every day maybe. She finally understand what consequences feel like. Megan didn't appreciate the sarcasm. "You were going to marry her, Ezra. You really can't even talk to her once." I dropped my bag on the counter. She talked plenty, just not to me and not about anything real. She tried the sympathy angle. "Next look, she knows. She messed up, but you didn't have to get her fired." That stopped me. "Oh, we're doing that?" "I didn't get her fired, Megan. She got herself fired when she decided office hours were a great time to play boyfriend roulette. Actions have consequences, and if you're here to make me feel guilty for drawing a line, you're wasting your time." She blinked like she didn't expect me to push back. "She's hurting." I shrugged. So was I. Still showed up to work. Still did my job. Still treated people with respect. Tell her to try that sometime. She opened her mouth, probably to throw out some pre-rehearsed line about forgiveness or everyone makes mistakes, but I walked toward the door. Time to go. "You're seriously kicking me out?" "Yeah," I said, just like I kicked her out. "Keep it consistent." She left muttering something about me being cold. I didn't argue. Cold's better than being played. Next day at work, things felt lighter. Not because anything magical happened, but because I didn't have to pretend anymore. No more awkward hallway silences, no more wondering who knew what, no more side glances or pity stares. But something else happened that afternoon, something I wasn't expecting. I was at the printer waiting for a set of drawings to finish printing. When Brooke walked up, she's a landscape architect, quiet, good at her job, always bangs. Those weird trail mix bags to meetings we hadn't talked much before, just the usual house. The going stuff, she handed me a document and said, "You got a sec." I nodded, and we stepped out onto a little outdoor terrace. Our office, as no one was out there, just us, and a couple potted plants that always looked half dead, no matter the season. She leaned on the railing. I wanted to say something the day it all blew up, but I didn't know if it was my place that got my attention. Say something about what? "Valerie," she said, and Declan. I stayed quiet. I saw things. She went on little things. The way she brushed past him too casually, the way they disappeared after meetings one time. I saw them get into the same Uber, said they were headed to 2 different site visits, but it didn't feel right. "Why didn't you say anything?" I asked, no heat behind. Just curiosity. She looked down, because I figured maybe I was being dramatic, or maybe it was none of my business. And because you looked happy, and I didn't want to be that person, I nodded slowly. "I get it." Then she added, "But I'm sorry you didn't deserve that." Something about the way she said it. No pity, just straight honesty. It hit harder than Megan's whole apology tour. She wasn't trying to fix anything, just letting me know. She saw it, and she saw me, and that was enough. We stood there a few more minutes. Not talking, just staring out over the parking lot like it was some kind of Zen garden. That evening, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize, almost didn't answer, but figured what the hell it was. Someone from a competing firm we'd done a joint project with last year. The director, Lena, remembered the pitch I gave solo the week before and said she was impressed. Apparently someone from her office was sitting in on that meeting and passed my name along. "Would you be open to talking about a lead design role?" she asked. I tried not to sound too surprised. "Oh yeah, I would." She said she'd send the details over that night. I hung up, sat back on the couch, and just stared at the ceiling for a bit. It hit me all at once. I wasn't stuck. This wasn't the end. It wasn't even a dead end. It was just the door slamming shut on a hallway I didn't need to be in anymore. Later that night, I got a text from my mom. She asked if I was okay. I said, "Yeah, getting there." She replied with a heart emoji and a picture of our old dog sleeping on the porch from years ago. I don't know why, but it made me feel okay, in a way I hadn't in weeks. Then just before bed, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize, but the message: "I miss you. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I can, but I miss you." The text sat there on my screen all night. No name, just 5 sentences that sounded like a sad movie. Quote, "I miss you. I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know if I can, but I miss you at first." I thought about deleting it, just swiping it away like everything else tied to her, but I didn't, not because I cared about what she had to say, but because I wanted a reminder of who she really was when no one was watching, and how I didn't deserve to be anyone's second choice. That weekend, I sat down and went through the offer from the new firm. It was solid, better pay, lead, role more. Creative freedom. They were opening a new office in another city, only about 90 minutes away. But it was a fresh start without ghosts lurking in every conference room. I took it, gave my 2 notice that Monday, no drama. My boss was supportive. Even asked if I wanted to talk about why I was leaving. I said I was just ready for something new. He nodded, said he got it. Brooke caught me in the kitchen that Wednesday, same quiet presence, same trail mix in hand. "You're really leaving, huh?" she asked. "Yeah." I said, "Time to hit reset." She leaned against the counter and gave this half smile. "Well, I'm glad you deserve somewhere you don't have to look over your shoulder." I laughed a little. "Yeah, I'm kind of over surveillance mode." Then she said something that stuck with me. "Some people only show their real face when they think you'll never walk away." That hit harder than I expected, because that's what Valerie had counted on, that I'd stay, even after everything that I'd want, closure or answers, or one of those hearts you see in movies, where the guy forgives the girl and they walk off into a warm, colored sunset. But I wasn't in that kind of movie, and I wasn't going to give her that scene the week I left. I packed up my stuff slowly, said my goodbyes to the team members, who mattered a few, even asked if I'd stay in touch, and I gave them my personal email, but I didn't give it to everyone. Some people didn't need to follow me into the next chapter. Later that night, I met up with Brooke for coffee, not a date, just two people. Decompressing, she asked me if I felt angry or relieved. Both, I said, but mostly free. She nodded like she understood without needing more words. We talked about dumb office stuff, the time the microwave short-circuited and nearly started a fire, that one meeting where Declan pronounced balustrade wrong 3. Different ways we laughed, and it felt good to laugh, without feeling like it was masking something. Eventually the conversation slowed, and she looked at me and said, "You know, I never wanted to say anything before, but I always thought," she talked, "about you weird. Weird how like she was trying to convince herself you were amazing, not just everyone else. You'd do something cool or thoughtful, and she'd brush it off or turn it into a joke. I thought about that, about how many times I'd show up for Valerie, and she'd act like it was no big deal. The small things that turned into patterns, the moments where love felt one-sided, but I didn't have the language for it yet." "Yeah," I said, "that sounds about right." Brooke gave me a smile, the kind of smile you give someone who just put a puzzle together after months of staring at the wrong side. We didn't talk about what came next. We didn't need to. The next week, I moved into a smaller apartment closer to the new firm's location. Clean space, no shared decorations, no photos that needed taken down. Just a couch, a TV, a bed, and silence. A good kind of silence, that first morning. I brewed coffee and actually sat to drink it. Didn't check my phone for messages. I didn't dread walking into an office where my ex was pretending I didn't exist. Just sat there peaceful. The text from Valerie still unread. Eventually I deleted it. No ceremony, no final words, just gone. And just like that, it felt like the final piece clicked into place. I wasn't Ezra who got cheated on. I was Ezra who walked.